Welcome CNG 132 to Monday. The discussion's very good for last week. Looking at password strength, how to evaluate passwords, passwords managers, what else? Testing strength, I forgot what 11.5 was. Different sites requiring minimum password strengths. So this week, very good discussions, and a few key discussions brought up was, should these sites be tested, or should these sites be qualified as secure sites? If I was a hacker, I would definitely make a site like this so people would just punch in their passwords, and then in the background be gathering all this information, creating some sort of dictionary attack for the future, or just get an idea of how passwords are moving and how to do those. A bunch of management application. I like those. Like I said, I do use one myself. It's easier than coming up with passwords that I'm probably going to forget. It even stores those IDs and logins I use for sites that are maybe I rarely log into, like my Microsoft admin account for my own domain. I rarely ever log into that, but that's the one that's paying my domain, paying for email server. So really only log into that once a year, so I don't have the passwords memorized. Let's see, week 12. We jump into, let's see, access management. We deal with, I forgot what this one has in it. I want to say it's mandatory access review, discretionary access, but let me double check that real quick. So we define access management and list the access control models, how to manage access through access management, describe those practices of access control. Okay, so let's see if we can go to the book. And then full book. This week we have a test to make sure you are looking at that, preparing yourself for that test. I thought there was a way to make it larger. So we look at access control, get the definition for access control, identification, authorization, the models. Discretionary access control is the most restrictive, or the least restrictive, least restrictive model. Make sure you start to get these in your head as to what they mean. You will see these on certification tests. If you want to come to the Larimer campus near the end of the semester, or even that Monday, Tuesday, on December 10th or 11th, feel free to come down to Larimer campus and actually take an MTA to get certified in the Microsoft Technology Associate for Security Fundamentals. That would be a good certification for you to take after this class. And it does have these questions in there. And when you go to Security Plus, it will ask you questions about these models right here. Mandatory access control, the most restrictive. There are a few others in between. Role-based access control and rule-based access control in between there for this chapter. It tells you how to the account setup, employee onboarding. You never have the with a server user creation. You always put that user is good from this point to this point. You never leave them in there forever. You always want to renew their account so that it ends at a certain point. Then you can decide from that point whether they keep their account going or just simply leave their account off. Or in some cases, you delete the accounts, but you really kind of refrain from doing that because you want to have some sort of record to fall back on. Separation of duties. Once again, we're hitting on this. We hit on this a chapter ago, to where you don't have one person in charge of everything, because that creates a security risk. You put multiple people in charge of that, and then you do a job rotation so that you're able to audit those different positions by different people to make sure no one's going rogue on you and basically stealing. Mandatory vacations, another way to access management. Clean desk policy. So now that we're getting to closer to security templates, take a look at, and this is an assignment also. So SANS.org, I think we go resources, security control project. Start looking at writing your security policy, and I suggest start this early and get it in. It requires 2 examples. It'll be over 2 pages long, so if you end up with a page and you have 2 things in it, you probably need to do some more work. Each security policy should take about a page, page and a half to do. They're not very difficult. Please do not copy and paste. We'll click one, we'll go antivirus guidelines. So when you look at the security policy itself, it has a form laid out. Is that the only one? So it has a form laid out that gives you what's it going to cover. So recommended process for prevention of virus problems. Always run the corporate standard. This is a security policy for your business. You're going to invent your own business and do 2 security policies on it. Feel free to click around and choose some that kick interest within you. You see the ethics policy. It has an overview, a purpose, a scope, policy compliance, related standard policies, in the case there's any. Some policies do relate to each other. Definition of terms. And remember, non-technical people will be reading these also, so you want to make sure they're as clear as you can get them for the entire business. Revision there. So once again, don't copy and paste. Use the framework given, overview, purpose, scope, policy, etc. But please don't copy and paste. Write your own so you have that. And then once you go over to here, assignments, you submit your security policy at the bottom here for its own grade. They're not very hard to do. It should take you at max maybe half an hour, but get those in early so I can give you feedback on them. Usually, I want to say maybe a third need to have a little bit more information if you don't follow the template exactly. Make sure you look at those 1 through 6 to get the best possible score. And like I said, turn those in early. Get those done. ACLs, access control lists. Talk a little bit about, basically let you know who can log into the system. Group-based access control for Amazon. Let me see if I can bring that up. When you're going into cloud services, you create both access control lists and group-based access control. This helps you identify who can access what device. And with I was messing around on Amazon. So if you look in the VPC here, Virtual Private Cloud, we can look up, where's it at? Network ACLs, and you can see that I have ACLs set up that are specific rules. I deleted a few too. One is allow all traffic, and one is deny all traffic. So with these in place, it really doesn't allow any traffic because it hits the first rule, allow, and then it hits the second rule that says deny. So no incoming traffic is allowed on that one. With this one, the same setup here. And I think if we look at the outbound rules, I did have some rules that were set up that included, in the security groups that said, hey, look, devices in this group cannot talk outside of it. I forget where that was. This one allowed RDP traffic to come in. This was a security group. This one was all traffic. I think the web security group did. Yeah, so here I started making a security group for SSH, HTTP, and these were the only protocols that I was making, or all protocols that I was allowing traffic to the server, and that the server was able to respond on. So heavy use in real application. So make sure you have a good idea of ACLs and group-based access control. And I believe that's close to it. We talk about a little bit about servers and how servers authenticate. Kerberos Radius, TACAS Plus, LDAP, SAML, authentication frameworks where we deal with handshakes. But take your time in reading this week. More as we get to the end of the book, it becomes more application, taking everything that we've learned and actually applying it to something. This week there is a test. Make sure you're ready for that. 13, 14, and 15 are all reviews, once again summarizing our entire book and bringing in all these concepts to one. The homework does become lesser because I know you're working on Transcender and the security policy in your spare time.